Hi everybody, it's Sarah Cray with Let's Make Art, and today we are doing our November watercolor calendar watercolor project tutorial.
.com/tutorial.
We have Michael here working the cameras.
Oh, hi.
I don't have an example to show you because we're just painting it together. Now it's going to be similar to a project I did a couple years ago called Atmospheric Birch Trees, which was a super fun project, but it wasn't really in fall colors. So I thought we should try it in fall colors, and that'd be so fun to do in our watercolor calendar. Okay.
Hopefully. Hopefully it's a good time.
We'll see.
We're just miserable.
Now, you guys, for the watercolor calendars, you can find them on our website, letsmakeart.com. They're dateless calendars made out of watercolor paper, so you guys can paint a picture on the top. You can paint on the individual day squares, and it's dateless, so you guys can buy it and have the intention of gifting it this year, and then maybe, you got to gift it next year. That happens,
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know quite what I'm using yet, but at the end, I will.
I would like to take this moment to clear up dateless because I saw 4 or 5 questions about why dateless, because January of this year has different days. Like the first is a Wednesday, let's say. January next year, the first will not be on a Wednesday. So you can fill in your own dates on a dateless calendar.
And then the reason why we decided to do that, you can fill in your own dates. And then also it then doesn't become irrelevant after 2025. This calendar can be reused, all of that kind of stuff. You can buy a bunch of them. It's just easier.
Perfect.
Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is I took my calendar. You want to make sure that you are painting on the correct orientation. The dot should always be at the top, okay? This little hole should always be at the very top. And that's how you know that you are not painting upside down. And now we are going to do our trees made out of tape, okay? So I tape the edges of my paper. We'll do the tape and then we'll do the oath. So for these birch trees, I'm going to take pieces of Holbein Soft Tape, and you can leave them thick like this if you want your birch trees to be thick. I'm going to let mine be a little bit thinner. And I'm just going to kind of start taping them across my paper. Now we will do another layer of trees after we do our first background, which need to be a bit skinnier. So like this piece of tape that I tore off on the last one got a little bit too skinny. And instead of like throwing that away, I'll just use it on the next layer. And the reason why we want the trees to be different thicknesses is we're trying to communicate depth. Okay. And leave space for the next layer of taped trees. I'm going to do one more right here. And you're going to want to make your tape evenly spaced from each other without even thinking about it, because that's what our brains really like to do. So purposely go in and have some that are a little bit closer together or some that are wider apart. You don't want a pattern to be like, Okay, that's it. Now we're going to paint the background. I'm going to be using a larger brush. And I really want to celebrate the fall colors here. So I'm going to go for like a yellow-orange background. Okay.
It'd be funny to just leave your calendar just like this, just with the tape on it, and just be like, that's November. No painting.
That would actually be funnier for like December or January when it's snowy.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm mixing together Q Gold and Q Burnt Orange. I'm going to make sure all my pieces of tape are taped down, including especially the ones along the edge. And I'm just going to start putting in this color. Now, if the paint accidentally bleeds a little bit underneath the tape, that's not a huge deal. You guys have experienced wonky trees before. It exists in nature somewhere, so it's not the end of the world if you get a wonky tree. Maybe it got hit with something. Maybe it grew weird. You never know. I'm adding more water as I work towards the center of my paper, just so then we have a little bit of like a value change. And whenever you have a value change in a landscape, it communicates just a little bit of depth. And I know this color tends to dry a little bit lighter than when I paint it, so I'm going to be Doing another layer here. Don't be afraid of texture and blooms. This is like a really loose kind of atmospheric painting. And so we embrace all of those things. It all adds to the painting. Blooms never take away from a atmospheric painting. Okay, now we're gonna let this dry. So I'm gonna use my heated craft tool. Now for our second layer here, we're not gonna take these off just yet. We're trying to create a sense of depth within our trees. And so we want the farther away trees to be skinnier. And we're gonna be adding this tape on top of an already painted surface, which means the trees are gonna have different values between the foreground trees and then this layer of trees. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we'll do these here.
I know you're a huge fan of Holbein Soft Tape. Is this kind of like putting tape on wet paint a no-no with regular masking tape, or you think you'd be fine still?
I do love Holbein Soft Tape so much. My paper is dry. So do you just mean a painted surface?
Yeah, like a painted surface.
As long as you're confident that your paper will not tear, you can put paint on an already you can put tape on an already painted surface. So if you have experienced a tape that does not tear with your watercolor paper, then you can do this with that as well. You can also do it with masking fluid. Masking fluid you can put on top of already painted paper and have a very similar effect. I just trust, out of all of my experiences, Holbein Soft Tape is the one that tears the least. That doesn't mean it never tears, but it tears the least. So that's why I'm using that. But if you have tape you can trust, use that. Okay, so I did my second layer here. Now I'm going to do another wash. And the reason why we're doing another wash is basically we need to make the paint around the new tape trees a little bit darker, so then those taped trees stand out. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still just using Q Gold and Q Burnt Orange. But if you have a different yellow-orange combination that you really love and you want to use that instead, please do.
I'm going to start naming your paint mixes. I'm going to name this one Persimmon.
Ooh, that's an excellent
Thank
name for this. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is let's add some foliage in here. So let me get my foliage brush. I thought I had everything. Okay, foliage brush. I'm going to take some oranges and I'm just going to start putting in layers of leaves. Foliage, if you will. And yes, the paint is wet, so this is just kind of diffusing out. That's exactly what I want. Now, if you've been painting with me before, you've probably heard this story, and I think I told it in this original tutorial, but basically his family will drive up to go see the aspen trees in the mountains when they're changing and have a little picnic there and make hot chocolate, and then they just hang out. That's what they do. They just sit among the nature trees, and I love it. It's one of my favorite traditions, and I've been missing it since we've moved away to Missouri.
Yeah.
But it's so fun. I just love it when, you just have these little memories taking you to such beautiful places and spending time with your family. And what is it that you're doing? We're looking at leaves. You know what I mean? It's so fun, and it doesn't have to be this big whoop-de-doo. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money, but it's just like consistently doing something with your family that you love. It's so great.
It was always fun. We would make like hot chocolate, pre-make it, put it in like a thermos, and then like bunch of sandwiches.
Yeah. His grandma would make a bunch of sandwiches and the hot chocolate. And it was the first time I tried a muffaletta sandwich. Divine. I'm going to grab some Cad Yellow and just see what it looks like if I add a little bit of a brighter yellow within there. But already I'm getting such beautiful textures.
This is only applicable to like 4 people of you out at home. But if you want to do the same thing, it's up by Clear Lake. And there's a few aspen groves up there that you can just visit. Yeah,
they're so beautiful. Okay, this is looking really good. I didn't know how it was going to look. And then I think what I want to do, I think we should remove the tape, and then we will do some more intentional leaves that are wet on dry, so our paper is dry, and then we'll add some birch tree texture to our trees, okay?
All right.
I can see already looking at here that I have had some paint bleed a little bit underneath my tape. Again, I'm not mad about it. This is one of those projects where that is not going to ruin your painting at all. So again, try to be kind to yourself as some things happen. It's just paint doing what it's supposed to do. You know what I mean? It's just doing its job. And the reason why I'm drying my paper before I remove the tape is if there's an especially wet area around the tape and then I remove the tape, then that wet area could bleed into that recently removed tape area. So I'm just making sure things are dry. I've also heard that you could use heat to help remove tape as well. If you've noticed that your tape is tearing, sometimes using like a heated craft tool to like heat it up a little bit before kind of helps the glue come off. I don't know how accurate that is. All right. Should we carefully do that? Okay, so there's one tree. There's another. So you could tell that this was from our first layer of trees because of how white the paper is. Now this one is from our second layer of trees. So you see how just the different values show that this one seems further away?
Mm-hmm.
That's all because of values, the lightness and darkness of a color.
I forgot that you did the trees in multiple stages, and I saw those, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that one bled so much."
This one did bleed a lot, but look at the cool texture that
Yeah.
it got.
Yeah, I kind of really love that
Like,
one.
that's really cool. It just looks like there's leaves in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's do our birch tree texture, and then we'll go in and do some more intentional leaves. So for our birch tree texture, there's a couple different ways that you can do it. You can actually use a credit card to create really cool texture. I couldn't find one in my workstation. I couldn't find one, but you could also use a palette knife, which is what I'm going to use.
You know, there's like junk mail credit card offers you get. We should just start saving
Yeah,
those.
I
That's
need
a
to
good
just
idea.
save one.
Yeah.
I even had the crazy idea because I have my wallet with me, obviously. And I was just like, this might be a perfect opportunity for me to stop using a credit card. And then I was just like, no, Sarah, that's unhinged behavior. Okay, so I'm going to so basically what you do this with the edge of a credit card or you do it with a palette knife. You would just take the paint and scrape it along the edge, right? Like so. And you can test it on a piece of paper first if you don't want to just bring it right to the painting. But after you have your things scraped, then you just slide like this. And look, they look like little birch trees.
Cool.
The only thing I would say is when paint is wet, it's going to be tempting to do a lot of paint on it. But let me show you what happens when you do that. You'll get this big thing, chungus, guys. So try and do it more like sparingly because you can always like add more later, you know? I have this like dot on my, do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's try it. Okay. So I'm using indigo here, but you can use whatever color that you want. You're going to pick a side and you're just going to scrape the paint on there. I think with a credit card, it actually works a little bit better, to be honest, but.
It has like a little bit of flex.
Yeah. That's okay. Oops.
I think it's working out great.
Okay, yes. Let's do some here. And you can turn it around and do some going the other way. You can even sometimes, like on the really tiny tiny ones, you could just even like stamp it almost and not even have to smear it as much. Kind of lasts for a long time without having to add more paint.
Impressive.
Oops.
I don't think you could have done that if you tried to.
I know. Like, how did I even do that? But honestly, little mistakes like that always bother us more than like the person viewing it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to get a little bit more.
If you like this kind of thing, we have like a very in-depth atmospheric course on the site.
Yes, if you're interested in moody, like atmospheric landscapes and you really want to learn the techniques and the tools, we have a whole course on it. You can find it on our website. Ooh, I like that. And then we got this little guy here, which I'm mostly just going to like stamp. You can also use, I think in this original like atmospheric birch trees tutorial, I used just a black pen to do the birch lines.
Mm.
So if you have like just a pen, that works great too.
Birches are pretty trees.
They're so pretty. They're so fun to paint.
Yeah.
Okay. That looks really good. And then sometimes what I like to do, just to give my trees a little bit of like depth, is I'll take a damp brush. Just trying really hard not to get paint all over me. And I'm just going to like smear a little bit. That one I probably did a little bit too much water. So let me see if I can lift that up. But that's also why I did more of an indigo color, is because when it does kind of bleed out a little bit, I wanted it to be a bluish hint and not just gray. Because look how pretty the blue works against the orange.
Absolutely.
And don't be afraid to let your birch trees get a little bit like messy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I got to be careful right here because this is so much paint that if I wet it, it's going to kind of go everywhere. So I'm going to try and avoid that area a little bit actually.
If you really want to make this painting look good, a couple googly eyes on the trees, obviously. Would just make it right there.
Okay. Now, the very last thing that we're going to do is just some intentional kind of leaves going around or on top of the birch tree. So this is where you can use any oranges, reds, yellows, golds. If you have like gold paint, that would actually probably be really cool too. So I have some cad yellow, maybe mix a little bit with orange. And you can just have it kind of go in between, on top of, to the side. But how these trees grow is they have that big trunk right in the middle that's like white and black, right? And then the tops of their trees have the leaves, and then sometimes they have little bursts of leaves that kind of come out from branches on its way up, right? Am I thinking that correctly?
I think so. If you're a birch expert, please weigh in.
Please tell us.
Nicely, though. Be nice.
Yeah. So I'm just going to do a little bit kind of going up. Let's get some strong yellow here. Ooh, I like that orange and red.
Yeah.
I love it when something works out. You know, when you're just like, I don't know, we're going to see. And then you're like, no, this is good.
These are my favorite tutorials where we just make them up off the cuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, we'll see how it goes.
And it's good for you guys just to see that process of what it's like. You know, it's more just like making decisions in real time, sitting through the discomfort of the like messy middle, and just like kind of playing and exploring.
Also, you guys really don't know this, but this could have been our 50th take. You know?
We're just pretending. I guess they could have, huh? Maybe this one kind of covers up a little up here. If you are going to paint some in the front, just have it be a little bit of a darker kind of color. So then it kind of like actually looks like it's in front.
Yeah, it pops a bit.
Yeah. Gosh, I really love that kind of reddish. I'm going to do a little bit more of that Q coral in there. It's lovely.
Aspen trees, when in the fall, are this color. I mean, I know that birches and aspens are not the same, but like they do get wild colors in the fall. I love them. They're one of the prettiest fall trees to me. Maples are pretty also.
Yes. Okay, and I'm going to do a little bit more. I always like to kind of frame my painting, so I'm going to do a little bit darker red kind of along the edges here. And you can paint as if there's leaves going in between the trees. You can paint as if, you know, they're coming out of the trees. There's so many different ways that you can do it, and none of them are wrong. Okay, so really like remove that kind of pressure from yourself. And then now I'm just going to kind of take a step back and look at it from a whole compositionally. I think it looks really good. The only thing that's kind of bothering me is I want there to be a little bit of a stronger, darker edge right here. Should I play with a pen? Let's just see.
Why not?
Like what happens if I can do a few little marks? It's not bad.
Yeah.
There are some artists that use like calligraphy ink and stuff like that to do this, which is really lovely. And then what happens if I do like just...
I've watched you paint a million paintings, as you know.
Yeah.
I've noticed that a painting is strong when there's like value-wise light, medium, and darks, but also detail-wise when there's like big detail, medium, and then like a couple little teeny tiny details like pen drawn in. It really makes, it adds a lot.
It really does. If you can have at least 3 different values, and then if you can have 3 different size brush strokes, and that's what we're talking about in the details, small, tiny details, medium details, and larger areas, then like already your painting is set up for success. Okay.
Beautiful.
I really love it.
I do too.
It turned out wonderful. This is great. I kind of, if I were to do it over again, I maybe would lean more towards yellow. However, only because I'm thinking of the aspen trees when we would go and they would be more yellow, I would say, than red.
It really depends on the time you go. I've seen like fiery red ones before.
Oh, okay. So this is
accurate. This is biblically accurate, if you know, as you say.
Did you say biblically accurate? Do you think we should do tiny little branches off of it?
I mean, it's your call. It's your painting.
Maybe just a little bit. Just like 1 or 2.
All right. I have my list of words ready for when we do all of the reveals.
You can't tell people that you have a list prepared, honey. You need to pretend.
I prepared a list.
You need to pretend like you're just coming up with those words on the spot.
I'm just stunned.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So coming out of some of these dark areas, they don't have to, but you could do just little branches. And you can play with the textures of the leaves that are already there, where maybe this one's kind of coming out of here, but it's covered by the leaves. So then you would just kind of continue the line after it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Probably would be better if you could do this in like a white or something, but it's fine. The other thing that you want to kind of be aware of is your brain is going to want to place the branches all on the same side at the same height. So again, you have to go in and really mess up those lines because your brain is just going to do that on its own. Okay. And don't be afraid of a wonky branch. If you've ever looked at a tree, you know they exist. Ooh, yes, that added. Ooh, I really like that I did that. And remember, you know, if there is something that you don't like, we have lots of paint here. We have lots of different mediums and techniques, so you can always just cover it up. And the worst thing that can happen is you got to start again. That's it. Or your Aunt Susan gets a funky November page in her calendar, and that's also not a big deal. Okay.
But that's all right, because Aunt Susan's kind of funky. you know?
Yeah,
Her funky page is fitting.
she would appreciate it. Okay, I do need one more branch going to the left over here though. And I'm just using Indigo, the same color that I use for the textures. And let's have it, where do I want it? Maybe up here. Yep. Ooh, I love it. I love it. All right, let's carefully remove the tape. Now, whenever you tear tape, you want to do it slowly. You want to be pulling away from the painting.
Wow. I really love that.
Ooh, I love how that turned out. Okay, how fun. All right, so here is our November page. I'm going to do a quick dry on this before I flip through because I see some areas. You know, the hard thing about doing that scraping technique is sometimes you get these globs of paint that take a long time to dry. And so then when you shut your book, it will then make the other page have those marks on it. So I'm just going to make sure that it dries before I close it. You can also help by just like taking a piece of paper towel and blotting. That will lift up any extra paint. Okay, I think we're ready to do the flip through.
I'm ready.
Okay, so starting from, this is day 1, okay, or the cover. So we have January,
Superb.
February,
Stunning.
March,
Sensational.
April,
Splendid.
May,
Sublime.
June,
Stunning.
July. Wait, did you already use stunning?
I don't know. Maybe.
July,
Solid.
August,
Striking.
September,
Smashing.
October,
Savvy.
November.
Stand out.
Stand out. Okay, this November page I think is my favorite one, I have to say. Out of going through all of them,
It's real good.
I think this one is my favorite. Thank you guys so much for painting with me. I hope you have fun with this and try it. I hope you take these ideas and just run with them. My biggest hope is that it's just these tutorials or these projects are a start for you and they open up your own creativity and they open up your own confidence that you guys can do things. You know, you don't have to have permission. If you need permission, I give it to you. You can do whatever you want. It's good. Art is meant to be explored. So thank you so much for painting with me, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.